Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, grab your extreme cold weather gear because today we are embarking on a massive expedition. We're leaving the comfortable climates we're all used to and heading straight to the absolute most extreme, isolated continent on Earth. We are uncovering Antarctica. Whether you're a geography buff studying for exams or you just love mind-bending facts, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to break down the crucial statistics, the shocking geography, and the really fascinating history of this frozen wasteland. Right, let's dive into this by starting with the very name itself. Have you ever actually wondered why it's called Antarctica? Well, it's essentially a geographic literalism. It's derived from two parts, anti, which simply means the opposite, and Arctic, which refers to the North Pole. So Antarctica literally translates to the exact opposite of the North. And as we'll see throughout this explainer, it isn't just geographically opposite. In so many ways, its environment, its geology, and its biological makeup are entirely distinct from the top of our globe. So here's our expedition itinerary for today. We'll start with uncovering the frozen South, then explore a land of extremes, brave 6 months of darkness, navigate the continent of peace, and finally look at surviving the ice. Okay, Section 1, Uncovering the Frozen South, the Historical Quest. For centuries, people literally just guessed that a massive southern landmass had to exist, just to balance out the North. But actually finding it, that was incredibly dangerous. In the late 1700s, the legendary explorer James Cook made these really valiant early attempts to navigate the treacherous southern waters, but he never actually saw the continent itself. Fast forward to 1820, and the official discovery is credited to Fabian Gottlieb von Bellinghausen, who finally laid eyes on the icy landmass. And then, skipping ahead a bit, 1959 marks a huge turning point with the Antarctic Treaty, which we're going to unpack a little later. Moving right along to Section 2, A Land of Extremes, Geography and Scale. Now, this is where the numbers get absolutely wild. Antarctica isn't just cold. A staggering 98% of the entire continent is permanently buried under ice. Only a tiny 2% fringe is ever ice-free. And we aren't just talking about a thin layer of winter frost here. We are talking about an ice sheet averaging over a mile thick, literally crushing the landmass beneath it. Now, what's really interesting is what that 98% ice coverage actually represents for the rest of our planet. That thick, frozen shell holds an unbelievable 70% of the world's entire freshwater supply. It's just staggering. It truly highlights the global environmental importance of this massive ice sheet. Because, think about it, any significant melting here due to shifting climate patterns has the power to dramatically alter sea levels worldwide. And of course, keeping all that water frozen requires some serious cold. Negative 89.2 degrees Celsius. That is the lowest natural temperature ever directly recorded at ground level on Earth. To put that into perspective, at that temperature, steel can actually shatter, and exposed human skin would freeze in a matter of seconds. It's a level of cold that's honestly almost incomprehensible. Incredibly, that mind-numbing, record-breaking temperature of negative 89.2 degrees Celsius was recorded at a Russian research facility known as Vostok Station. It's located way deep in the interior of the continent, and it is widely considered the pole of cold, literally the absolute most unforgiving environment on the planet. But wait, Antarctica isn't just a flat, boring block of ice. Beneath that frozen sheet is a surprisingly rugged, dynamic geography. First, you've got the Vinson Massif, which is the highest mountain peak. Then, the immense transantarctic mountains quite literally divide the whole continent into east and west. Next is a massive contradiction, Mount Erebus. This is an active, bubbling volcano sitting right in the middle of a frozen wasteland. How wild is that? And finally, the Bentley Subglacial Trench, a ridiculously deep canyon that's completely hidden by the ice sheet. To cap off the geography, let's talk about the Lambert Glacier. Everything in Antarctica is oversized, and its glaciers are for sure no exception. The Lambert Glacier is the world's longest. It is an absolute behemoth, stretching 400 kilometers in length and 40 kilometers in width. It's essentially this unstoppable river of ice, constantly slowly shifting and shaping the continent. All right, Section 3. 6 months of darkness, the Antarctic sky. If we shift our gaze up from the frozen ground, the sky behaves in ways that completely defy our normal daily experiences. Because of the extreme tilt of the Earth's axis, right at the absolute South Pole, the sun rises in September and does not set again until March. Literally 6 months of continuous blinding daylight. And then, the sun dips below the horizon, plunging the entire continent into 6 solid months of dark, freezing night. It is a massive psychological and physical test for the researchers stationed there year-round. But hey, that 6-month darkness is not entirely pitch black. It actually provides the perfect canvas for the aurora australis, commonly known as the southern lights. Very similar to the northern lights, these are spectacular, rainbow-like displays of vibrant colors. We're talking greens, pinks, and purples, just cutting right through the darkness. It's a breathtaking visual reward for surviving the harsh Antarctic night. Which brings us to Section 4, the continent of peace. Who actually owns it? With a landmass holding so much of the world's water, it begs a really major geopolitical question, right? Who actually governs this place? To answer that, we have to jump back to the year 1959. Right in the middle of the Cold War, when global tensions were incredibly high, humanity actually did something remarkably forward-thinking. So the crucial point is this magnificent document, the Antarctic Treaty. Initially signed by 12 nations in 1959 and now boasting dozens of member states, this treaty effectively hit pause on all territorial claims. It plainly states that Antarctica is exclusively dedicated to peaceful scientific research. There is a strict, absolute prohibition on any military activities, no weapons testing, no military bases. Plus, there is a complete ban on commercial mining. It is a continent preserved entirely for science and peace, which is a really rare global triumph. Okay, on to our final section, Section 5, Surviving the Ice, Myth versus Reality. Because the environment is so harsh down there, there are a lot of misconceptions about who or what actually survives it. So I want to pose a classic trick question to you, one that honestly catches a lot of people off guard. Do Eskimos live in Antarctica? Take a second and think about what you picture when you imagine the icy poles. Well, the answer is a resounding no. People get this mixed up all the time. The North Pole, the Arctic, that is home to indigenous populations, historically referred to as Eskimos, but much more accurately known as Inuits or Yupik. It's also where you'll find polar bears and traditional igloos. The South Pole, Antarctica, has zero native human population, none. It is home only to rotating teams of international scientific researchers and, of course, millions of penguins. Fun fact, polar bears and penguins literally never cross paths in the wild. Just to really hammer this home, the incredible human survival tactics we generally associate with extreme cold, building snow igloos, hunting seals, using seal oil for lamps, all of that rich history happened exclusively in the Arctic Circle, up north. Down south in Antarctica, before modern explorers arrived, ice was completely isolated and entirely untouched by humanity. Which leaves us with a truly humbling thought. If 70% of the world's freshwater is locked away in this completely isolated, frozen wasteland, what other massive secrets does it still hide beneath its 2-mile-thick ice? And maybe even more importantly, as global climate patterns shift and that ice is threatened with melting, how is this sleeping giant going to reshape our world? Thanks so much for joining me on this expedition today. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you on the next expedition.